So I should preface before I start anything that I represent what I would call the new school, and that I think a lot of our presenters before this have had a firm grasp on what the old school truly is. And I grew up with cell phones, I grew up with video games, I love those things, I cherish those things, and that kind of leads in to when I went into a job interview for a previous job, and across from me sat the boss of this business. This business had been in existence and operating for 50 years. It was an outdoor shop in Cleveland, Ohio, where I was living at the time. And he sits across from me, and the first thing that he says to me is, "We do things a little old school here." And I immediately know at this moment, I am not going to fit in here, because I am your 24-year-old liberally minded city folk at that time, and he was operating the shop for 50 years with the good old boys. Now, in the outdoor industry, I call good old boys anything that is a gentleman or a lady that comes in and requests to share with you every bit of knowledge that they have about any piece of gear that existed 25 years ago, and how that is much better than anything that exists in your little yuppie shop right in here. So, he goes on for an hour and a half and explains to me that this shop is run exactly the same way that it was 50 years ago, 1966, and it is not going to change. And I said, "That is great. I'm going to be here a couple months. I know it. I'm going to have to leave." And then he sets me to it. Footwear was my first objective. And there are two different distinct styles of selling. There's aggressive and there's passive. I am a passive seller in that I'm going to tell you about how this shoe has a flexible midsole made of EVA foam. It's going to have a nylon shank in it. He comes over in the middle of my sales and says, "Josh, you're doing it all wrong. Let me show you how it's done." Grabs the boot off the wall, shoves it in the customer's hands, and says, "You're going to Alaska? You need this boot." And the customer says, "Okay, I'll try it on." And walks over to the counter and essentially says to the cashier, that man told me to buy this boot, so I'm going to buy this boot now. I was blown away by this. This is not how I operate. This is not how I see the world. But I learn. And over time, I start to develop that into my sales strategy. If the talk about the flexible midsole and the EVA foam doesn't work, I start just grabbing boots off the wall and shoving it in customers' hands, and I say, "Buy this?" And then they buy it. And I'm like, wow, there's something to this. I don't exactly understand it, but there's something about this sales strategy. Continue to do this, and in the mind of my old school boss, I start to gain the ranks of manliness, and now I'm a little bit more of a man in his eyes, and I'm selling boots, I'm selling clothes, I'm selling backpacking equipment, selling tents, and he loves it. He's making lots of money off of me. And I start to grow in his perspective of me, and he starts to grow a little bit in my perspective of him. And because of that, over the years, I get to Christmas time, gives me a fantastic bonus, kind of backs it up a little bit, go on into the springtime, and gives me the opportunity and sponsors me to do the Appalachian Trail, a complete dream of mine. Did not believe this was possible. I'll preface over all of that and say it was a great thing. It changed my entire life. Come back to Cleveland. And here I am in the outdoor shop again, talking to him. First thing he says to me when I walk in the door is like, "Did you have fun?" "Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was life-changing." "Good, get back to work." So, get in, I get selling. And the old school and the new school are starting to blend into one for me. And this guy that I previously hated from the very beginning, I didn't really appreciate the old school mentality, didn't appreciate his views, he didn't appreciate mine, starting to grow on me. New girl starts to work in the clothing department, and she is, for lack of better terms, a valley girl. There's no valleys in Cleveland, it's an entire state of a valley. But, oh my God, like I work at the backpacker shop and totally like these clothes are so nice. I only work here to get discounts. Did you talk to the boss? He's totally a dick. Like I don't even like him. I say, yeah, okay, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. My job became the Appalachian Trail guy. You want to go hike the Appalachian Trail? You come talk to Josh. He's the guy who knows. I get a gentleman in one day, and he walks up to me cautiously, and everyone says, "Josh, you got another Appalachian Trail guy." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, great." He comes up to me and he says, "Your name is Josh?" And I say, Yep, that's me. I heard you did the Appalachian Trail. And I said, yep, I certainly did. He's like, well, I'm a retired police officer, and I have to say, I would enjoy doing the Appalachian Trail myself. And I started going down this road. I'm like, this is a good old boy. This is a good old boy. I'm going to have to butter him up a little bit, throw some boots at him and say, buy this and stuff like that. And as we continued down the conversation, he started looking at me and telling me how the Appalachian Trail was so important to him. It was something that he wanted to do, that he had lived his entire life as a police officer, and that when he retired, he had nothing. He works at a local gym. He says he complains about the other workers there. They're youngins that go and leave their posts, and he's left to work the counter at night and clean the bathrooms at night, and he doesn't know what to do about it. He tells me about a little puppy that he had got recently to try to bring joy into his life. And he cradled the puppy, and he brought it up for weeks on end and was holding it one day. And this man who I'd never met says to me, I was holding the puppy, and it started to wriggle around my hands. I dropped it, and it fell on the ground and hit its head, and it died. I had never met this man before. He was telling me the most intimate secret of his life to that time. And in that moment, I went up to him. I literally put my hand on his shoulder, a person I'd never met in the store. And I said, I think you need the Appalachian Trail. I think it's right for you, and I think you're going to do amazing on that. He looks at me and says, thank you. Nobody really sees to me. I could tell that you were a good person when you started talking to me. And in that moment, the old school and the new school blended into one. And I found that being able to relate to a generation, to a type of people that I previously could not, is something that brought a whole lot of joy to my life. And I turned to the new clothing girl, and I said, wasn't that amazing? She says, yeah, I totally guess, maybe. Thank you.